It just doesn't seem like a good idea to have sex with your advisor. If I had a friend who had seen me have sex, I wouldn't send them erotic visions to mess with them. I want to know how you felt about it, so I'm giving you erotic visions. Why don't you ask them? Hello. Hi. Welcome back. This is the first installment of The Crown of Gilded Bones. This is the first video of book 3 in the From Blood and Ash series. Now, I'm like kind of far into the book. I'm 21 chapters in, or I'm just starting chapter 21. And look, book 2 was a colossal disappointment. And you saw that video. I debated whether I was gonna read this or not, but I'm such a completionist. I need to know how this goes. Fundamentally, this is a much more interesting book than book 2. Like, you have plot from the get. Now, I have not been the biggest fan of this series since book 1. So, like, you're not gonna get this loving review from me. With that said, let's talk about this. Okay, there's 50 chapters. There's 50 chapters in this book, and I'm 20 chapters in. I'm just shy of the halfway mark. Miss Armentrout has introduced us to some interesting plot points, like the Brotherhood, which is interesting. Then you have the Grimm, which are already introduced by this point. And I'm hoping the Brotherhood comes back because they can just fuck shit up and I want some mayhem. There's a lot of questions that came up from like book 2 and the beginning of book 3, like what exactly is her bloodline? She was ascended, but nothing happened. Like, she wasn't technically, like, Castile ascended her, like did all the things to ascend her, but she didn't turn into a vampire. So there's none of those questions have been answered yet. And then also there were like kind of taunts that were given to her by Alistair as well as the Duchess about her origins or like her identity. Those haven't been answered, but there were some that like the king said he would answer like 10 chapters ago, and we're still like, okay, you gonna tell us or what, homie? Like, are you gonna tell us what you know, or are we gonna wait 50 million years? The one thing Miss Armentrout does is she creates interesting plot points that could go down a road of interest. So in this book, when she was kidnapped from Alistair and then sold, or he was trying to sell her to the Ascended, she doesn't make it far. She gets shot. And that's how they attempt to ascend her. It would have been way more interesting for her to be sold to the Ascended, maybe meet Malik, maybe talk to her brother. Like, to me, that's a fundamentally more interesting plot point than their plot being foiled when they're talking to the Ascended. There's a meetup, but then, Castile and the king, like, and all the folks are there. Also, the whole, I don't know what it's called, but like the bond with the wolves, what's that about? Like, why have we not had any answers? Miss Armentrout likes to drag things along and leave everybody just with questions when she's fully capable of answering them. Like, what does it matter if she answers the question in chapter 10 or chapter 22? Like, why not just give us the answer in 10? Like, we're gonna keep reading, but like, why not just tell us now? Anyways, back to what I was saying about that Ascended plot point. She's done this throughout the series. Like, she introduces potential plot points of interest to go somewhere else, but then she cuts that off. Like, when she was kidnapped, she was kidnapped by, I don't remember his name, the guy who came to the fort to go get her and like killed him later on. Would have been cool if he kidnapped her. Or kidnapping's not cool, but like, there's that plot point moving. Or when the Duchess came, they kill the Duchess, What if she like kidnaps her? Like there's so many opportunities to kidnap her, to like bring her back to the Ascended, which I think everybody wants. Or at least I want. I want her to go back to the Ascended. I want to see them fuck shit up. You know, I want to see her like meet Malik. I want that. Maybe Malik is evil now. I don't know, maybe Malik's dead. But I want that. I want to know. I want that connection to be made. And Miss Armortrout keeps, hopefully what she has in store for us is better than all of these like potential other avenues that she's choosing not to go down. Where do I think this book is going? I like don't even know at this point, because well, okay, they're gonna meet Malik. Like they're gonna meet him. 100% she's gonna contact her brother. Both of these things I believe in my heart to be true. I have not read the back of the book or the blurbs. I just like went right into it for each one. And she also is gonna meet the queen. She has to meet the queen, she has to meet Malik, and she has to meet her brother. Those are 3 musts. If Jennifer, if she strips us of that opportunity, I will be pissed. I will stop reading. I think there's one more book. I will stop reading Jennifer. I will. All right. So I finished book 3. And it was better than than the second book. Jennifer Armentrout has an interesting plotline, interesting conception. She just takes a million years to get there. When I think about some great books that I love, I think about, you know, kind of in the same realm, like Leigh Bardugo. Six of Crows, as an example, it's a great book, and she has 6 main characters, and she gets you so much farther in like 400 pages. And that's what bothers me. There's a lot of kind of small things that I've talked about in terms of like purity culture and consent and the verbal like wittiness. That's one thing, but overall, like her readability as an author, just based on this series, her writing style, like the way that she writes sentences isn't bad. Where I have problems is her characterization, but then also she takes a million years to get to a point. And one of the reasons why is because when a scene happens, she describes like everything in the scene. When the person walks into the room, when they leave the room, when they pick up something. In the hands of a different writer, we'd be having much different development, much different, like much faster paced. That's one of the things that this book bothers me, is her pacing. Terrible. So the third book, I didn't really do much live reacting in this book. We're gonna couple it with we're gonna do book 3 and 4 together. Because plot wise, I don't even know what to say about the plot. You have interesting stuff at the beginning when you realize all about the Alistair's, I don't know, homeboy gang of dudes. You have that whole plot, which kind of goes nowhere once they kill Alistair. And then they become king and queen somewhere in the middle. And then it gets interesting again once they meet the Blood Queen. And then the ending is great. I don't even remember all the stuff that happened in the middle. Simply because I took almost 10 days to read the third book. And I am somebody, when I have a good book, I have read a 700-page book in a day. That's me. That is me as a reader. The fact that it took more than 3 days to read this book kind of says a lot. So we're gonna make this vlog a little bit more interesting, and we're gonna continue on with the 4th book. Listen, I played myself, okay? I think I hate reading this at this point, which is kind of fine. But there's nothing else after the 4th book, so I'm gonna be forced to stop. And I was absolutely adamant that I wasn't gonna finish this book until I got to the last, maybe 50 pages where they kidnap Cass. I knew that there was going to be a kidnap plotline somewhere for somebody. I thought it was going to be Malik, but then also when you have these rescue attempts in fantasy, it's just the classic fantasy trope to kidnap one of them and then have them rescue the other one. I just wasn't sure that it would be Cass. I actually thought it was going to be Poppy and then Cass is going to come rescue her. That was my thought. The last thing I want to say kind of about the 3rd book is Poppy's heritage. And you find out that her dad is King Malik's twin brother. Twin plot lines are such cop-outs. They're like so cheesy. Anyways, so you find out that her dad is King Malik's twin brother. But this whole, like, where does she come from? What's her background? Who are her parents? It's been going on in the third one. Is way overcomplicated. I honestly can't keep up. And it's like, is she a deity? Is she a god? Who's her parents? Like, I'm now like, how is she related to Niktos, whatever, the god? How is she related to him now? Like, I don't remember. And I was just reading that last night. There's so much like speculation and then being right and being wrong. Did we need them to speculate about, like, to speculate 20 times? No. Speculate once, get it wrong, speculate twice, and then it's like, okay, I know who I am now. Because now I'm just like, somebody just needs to tell me who, like, what's going on here? Anyways, we just find out, I think at the end of the third book, that who her dad is, and it's the cat in the cage. And now she is going to go rescue Cass, and then also her dad. Great. But what is weirding me out right now in the first 8 pages of the book is what's the relationship that's developing with Kieran. It's turning sexual, and I'm not here for it. At least, like, it feels like it's taking a sexual turn. I don't know what's going to happen in this book. I didn't read any reviews, any spoilers. I'm assuming that they're going to get Cass back. I'm assuming. I also feel like they're going to kill the Blood Queen, but I don't know if it's going to happen in this book. I think, like, because this is a book with war, I think someone's going to die. It's not going to be Kieran or Cass. I think it might be someone like Vonetta. I think Vonetta would be a great, or Jasper, or the king, or the old king or queen. I feel like some of those, like, secondary characters would be perfect characters to kill off. Okay, I'm sorry, but the relationship between Kieran and Poppy is just getting weird. He's like, I feel like he's flirting with her, and he is like, does my nudity bother you? I get that the Wolfen they have different opinions about nudity, that, or I guess I could say in this world people are more open about nudity, but in specific the Wolfen. How many times have Wolfen appeared nude? Many. And Kieran teases her about seeing one of the Draken naked. But Kieran is like right beside her, and he's naked. And he's like, does my nudity bother you? And then also, as Poppy is realizing that she walked in Cass's dreams, like, that just happened. And they like kind of have sex in this dream. Like, right after she wakes up, she's telling Kieran about it, and then she's remembering him. Like, well, I think the exact words was, he was holding me back while I was riding Cass. To me, it kind of sounds like she's fantasizing about Kieran a little bit. And then there's also like physical closeness that's happened with them, like leaning my head on your chest, that kind of thing. And look, I don't think that just because two differently gendered people are like touching or hugging, that's inherently sexual. No. But this feels like it's turning sexual, and now I'm wondering, like, is she gonna cheat on Cass with Kieran? I don't know, because she really loves him. I mean, that doesn't mean that people don't cheat. But then also, I'm like, is Jennifer gonna be kind of wild and like have them as a throuple? Or is Kieran gonna become like their sex friend and they have threesomes together? I don't know, but I think something's gonna happen with that. And I don't know what's gonna happen. It's just kind of, I didn't expect that turn. We'll see. I'm also going to get my hair done, so I actually have to leave. I love a ponytail because I just love to whip it around. Okay, I'm gonna go do that, and I'll be back later when I don't know. I'll be back. Hello. Hi. Good evening. It's just after 9. I am coming to you from about 50% of the book. So I would say this book is the most enjoyable since the first. The first book, I definitely was like hate reading it a little bit and totally like hate reading the second and third book. But the first book was still a lot of fun to read, even though I wasn't loving it. And now I feel like I'm enjoying the book a little bit more. Like we're in 3-star territory for sure, but we're only like we're not even halfway through the book. The reason why I waited so long before jumping on is because the first part of the book kind of sets up like a big portion of the plot. So they take the first city, I think it's like Messine or something, and then they take a second city. I want to call it Royal Oak, but that's not it. It's like Oak Ambler, I think. So they take that, and then they're gonna go rescue Castile. So that happens fairly early on, and then there's like, you know, the plans and the taking of the stuff, and then now they're almost at Castile. There's not a lot that's kind of happened outside of that, but overall, I feel like the pacing of this book is a little bit better, and it's more enjoyable because she has introduced dual perspective of Cass and Poppy. This book has much less of one of my big annoyances, which was just being overly descriptive in every scene, not just of like the surroundings, but of the dialogue. We don't need every part of the scene for every dialogue. We just don't. It's too much and it's annoying, and we also don't need like quips from everybody and like sarcastic and witty comments every time there is a conversation. So that is still happening, but it's just less. This is my favorite reading experience since the first, and I'm enjoying it, and I would like to know where it goes. I am very uncertain / I'm a little weirded out about the relationship that's developing between Kieran and Poppy. Poppy catches herself fantasizing about Kieran at one point, or like recalling a moment that was like kind of sexual. I don't know. I don't know if I'm off base here, but something is happening with them, and I kind of wish that it wasn't. I really wish it wasn't happening, and I hope, or maybe it doesn't happen and I'm just seeing things, but I would love for it to not happen, simply because I think it's a better message to say that people of different genders can be close, they can be compassionate, they can be kind, they can even have moments of tenderness and closeness without it becoming sexual. He is the closest person to Poppy outside of Cass, but for like the closest person to her, for it to also become sexual, like people of different genders should be able to have friendships without it being sexual. Like, we don't need that. And also, it's like anybody who gets close to her is like, oh my god, you're amazing. I'm not saying that that's gonna happen, but it kind of feels like it's setting her up as somebody who is so special. I don't know. Does that make sense? Am I alone in my take? I was just doing laundry and I was watching Sarah Rose. But now I'm gonna go read because I'm honestly like not in a great mood, and reading just makes me feel better. Videos weren't doing it. So we're gonna go read. It's about 9 o'clock and I have a couple of hours before I want to go to bed. So I have like at least 2 good reading hours in. And hopefully I will update you later. Y'all, I was right, okay? I just finished chapter 21 and Poppy needed to feed, so Kieran offered because Cass is not there. And he told her that when she started seeing his memories, he changed what he was thinking about. And he was thinking about the time on the beach like a couple weeks back when Kieran was having sex with somebody. Cass and Poppy were having sex. And they saw each other and they watched each other and they continued having sex. That's one thing, but Kieran like acknowledged it. And he was like, oh, you were intrigued by it. And they were talking about being intrigued. And he's like, aren't you gonna acknowledge that I said that I was intrigued? And she's like, nope. What? That's just such a weird thing to say. If you see your friend having sex with somebody and you're into it, like for a moment, people get caught up in the moment. I could get that. But then like to bring it up to like when she's feeding on him, for him to bring up that memory to replay it to her to see how she would react and to be like, oh, you were intrigued by that memory? It's, first of all, it's manipulative, but second, it's just weird. Okay, y'all. So I'm at around chapter 26 or 27. Poppy and crew are at Carcedonia and she's seen Cass. He's alive. They were captured on their way in because they basically traveled along the road. Now, I kind of don't get it in the sense, you think about Six of Crows. In the second book, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Crooked King or you haven't read Crooked Kingdom, the group breaks in to that top secret Fort Knox. What? I don't remember what it's called. I want to call it the Ice Palace, but like that can't be it. 6 people did that. We can't get 3 people into a castle, or at least into the city, without being detected. It just seems kind of wild. The choice to basically travel along the road, like they could have done it secretly in the forest. I felt like there were options, and then they were captured, and then the queen kind of treats them like her guests and allows her to see Cass. It's all just very weird. And then, y'all, Poppy has a sister. I don't even know what to say about that. And okay, since I don't know what to say because I feel like they're gonna use her at some point, like to masquerade as Poppy, or like she's for sure gonna help them because she doesn't like the queen. I see that coming. Maybe she gets with Kieran. It also kind of seemed like Malik liked her, so maybe there's something there. I don't know. I don't want Poppy and Kieran to get together. And I think if he could be with Millicent, I don't know. I'm just like spitballing here, y'all. But the queen's extra plans of like remaking the realm or breaking the realm or whatever, either Cass is gonna have to kill her or millions of people are gonna die. This is classic fantasy. There's gonna be a way around it. No way either of those things happen. This is fantasy. There's gonna be the secret third option. You always know there's a secret third option. We just don't know it yet. So we have more secret family members. Excited to see where this goes. It's getting interesting. And also they're planning like a prison break. They're gonna get out. So I'm excited to see where this goes. So they rescue Castile, who's in bloodlust. And then he gets blood and then immediately has sex with Poppy. The way that Miss Armentrout has talked about feeding and stuff has been very sexual. Like, there's a sexual nature to it, or there can be. But even when Poppy was visiting him in the chamber and in the dreams, he just wanted to have sex with her. And look, I know there's all kinds of couples out there. I get it. But at the same time, when Mans has been captured for 40 days, it looked like he's been brutalized. It's okay for sex to not be the number one thing you want. Their relationship, I feel like, is 90% sex. And he's just so obsessed with her. It's like, okay, maybe like 80% sex, 80% obsessed with her because of the sex. Yeah, he finds her amazing, beautiful, glorious, whatever. I'm on chapter 32. So, I'll talk to you later. Alright, so we just found out that Malik was the Dark One, which is a twist I didn't see coming. Once we learned that Alistair was involved and there was somebody else, it seemed like we would know who the other person was, but I was not suspecting Malik. I don't know who it was gonna be, like maybe Colum or something, but not Malik. Okay, I feel like Malik is kind of giving us Rysand vibes in the sense that Rysand was with the queen. I don't remember her name anymore. Maybe not the queen. But in book one, when like everyone accused Rysand of being her whatever slur they wanted to use, and he was protecting his family. Malik is doing the same thing. He was serving the queen, but also he was involved with the dissenters and was protecting Millie and doing other things. So I kind of felt like that was coming. At first, Miss Jennifer was portraying Malik as somebody who was, like in cahoots with the queen, which classic fantasy trope. Same thing with Rysand. Everyone was saying, oh, Rysand, you're the queen's whore or whatever. I'm glad Malik is involved. He's a good guy, and we're going to see more from him. He's going back to the queen because the queen discovered them in the dissenters' home. This whole rescue attempt was botched from the beginning. So they were discovered coming in, they were discovered leaving, and then they were also discovered at the home, once they had left. Like every step of the way they were discovered. All of their plans sucked. But number two, what I find maybe a little bit more, like frustrating on Poppy's part is like her and people around her are saying she's not going to become what the queen is saying that she is. However, the queen has manipulated her at every step of the way. Yet Poppy and her crew are adamant that Poppy's not going to do what the queen wants, or like Poppy's not going to become this tool of evil like the queen is saying that she is. Y'all are falling into the same traps over and over and over again. The queen has been able to manipulate Poppy to do what she wanted. Now they're going to go get Malik, which is absolutely tied in some way to what the queen wants. Poppy is doing her bidding. I hate to say it, but like 2 dissenters are not worth the life of the entire kingdom. Poppy is so against hurting innocents and mortals. The queen will continue to use that against her. So I don't know, and they need to figure something out. There's 2 things I want to talk about. And the first one is there's 2 sections to part 1, which is consent. So earlier in the book, when Poppy is talking to the queen reveals that she has had sex with Iris, whatever his name is. And the queen had said that she didn't force him. After, in response to that, Poppy's thoughts were that no matter what the queen said, that their union could not have been consensual because he was a captive. I'm glad that Jennifer included that in the book because that is true. Jennifer, to me, it's an indicator that Jennifer is capable of thinking beyond the obvious verbal, yes, I want this, or no, I don't consent. Like she can think about contextual and situational consent. So that surprised me given everything we talked about in the couple of books. Not too long later, Poppy and Cass are having sex. And during this sex, they've only done like vagine things and they had not done backdoor things. And literally they're like talking and he just like casually just like slips a finger in there. He doesn't ask, is it okay? But it was something like, does it hurt or is it uncomfortable after he's already done the thing? This bothered me because he is assuming consent. As in, we've done these things, and therefore I'm going to assume that I can do these other things to you. In all kinds of contexts, unless you've established some kind of agreement with your partner, if you're going to do something you've never done before, you can't imply consent. He absolutely needed to ask her because what if she was uncomfortable with it? Not every person who has a vagine is okay with, if you've never talked about it. She could have easily said, I'm not comfortable, and would like to believe that Cass would have stopped at that moment, but also we don't even need to get ourselves into that kind of situation where we've done something to our partner that they're not okay with. We can ask them. They're married. He can say, how about we do this? Would you be okay to try this? Do you want to try this? Are you interested? And let's also say that she wanted it. Let's say she approached Cass and was like, I would like to try this thing. You need to get consent beforehand because she might not want to try it that day. It just, to me, kind of felt like that whole interaction really gave me the ick because he's assuming he can do whatever he wants to her and kind of like her body is an extension of his, which no, that is a small moment, but also just another questionable consent moment that Jennifer positions as okay. There's so many subtleties that are a part of like rape culture that just are are in this book, assuming you can do whatever you want to women, or that because you're married you have a right to their body or you can do what you want, or that like because you're married you don't have to ask for consent or have affirmative language before you do stuff. It's just like that is like what I mean by like rape culture. Maybe in this context she didn't feel violated, but it's this exact kind of situation logic thinking that is embedded for rape culture to exist. So onto something a little bit later. Poppy and Castile are talking about the joining, and they are talking about doing it with Kieran because of all this stuff that happened with the curse that was placed on Kieran. And they're talking about like, it can get sexual because we all need to be naked. And Poppy's like, well, what if it leads to... If I had a friend who had seen me have sex, I wouldn't send them erotic visions to mess with them. But like, I feel like the sex is coming between the three of them. On a maybe not so nice note, their relationship is, in my opinion, very dysfunctional. Castile asked... First of all, Castile always wants to have sex with her, which is like not a bad thing, but it's like, okay, he has a high sex drive and that's great, that's fine, but they're going through so much traumatic events. It kind of feels like he's not taking time to process or giving it to Poppy because of just like, it's always like sex. I don't know, maybe that's like the way that he copes with stuff. But like this guy, he leaves, he's like tortured for 40 days, leaves, and the first thing he wants to do is have sex with her. And then like more trauma happens and he's like, I want to talk to you. He says he pulled her away to talk to her. They barely talk and then they go have sex. A couple needs to have time to be able to process traumas, to process things that are happening, and to talk. Like, you need that time just as much as you need sexy time. And he's foregoing talk time for sexy time. And that just feels kind of dysfunctional. And then they're talking about some of the trauma while they're having sex. Weird. Anyways, they're gonna join with Kieran. Like, it's gonna happen. I know it. Kieran's gonna say yes because I think Kieran's also attracted to her. They're all gonna have sex. I'll let you know my reaction when I read about it. I knew it. I knew. So yeah, they all have sex together, and I had secondhand embarrassment during that, like, joining. I think there's 2 chapters with the joining. No, okay. So it was just, I don't know. It didn't read as sexy to me. Like, it just didn't. Look, I haven't read that many books in which there are like threesomes. This just like wasn't, just, I don't know. There's better out there. That's all I'm saying. This also isn't like an erotic book, so like I don't think it has quite the same purpose as let's say, I don't know, like a romance novel that's supposed to have like erotic descriptions of threesomes or more than 3 people. It just, yeah, it wasn't that sexy to me. I don't know, did you enjoy reading about it? I do feel as though having sex with Kieran is probably like not a great idea. Only we'll see how things play out, if it's weird or not after, because I just finished. Like, I don't know what happens after. It just doesn't seem like a good idea to have sex with your advisor. Folks can have sex with other people and just like have it be a good time and not be weird after. I know folks are capable of that. So maybe these guys will be those kinds of people. We'll see. I guess I hope that for them. Not that shit's awkward after. Or like anybody, I don't know, catches feelings. Poppy keeps asking Kieran like how he loves her, like what's the context of his love, which I kind of get given that things have been weird with them lately. But honestly, the way Kieran has been acting around Poppy is just weird. I get why she's asking that. If I had a friend who had seen me have sex, I wouldn't send them erotic visions to mess with them. That just wouldn't be my move. So it's weird that that was Kieran's move. If he doesn't like her, I don't know. Is anybody else finding that weird? That whole I want to know how you felt about it, so I'm giving you erotic visions. Why don't you ask them? Because this is a made up world, Miss Jennifer could have done anything for the joining. It could have been whatever they wanted. First of all, she calls it the joining, which already sounds sexual in nature. If I heard in society, oh, there's a joining, either I would have assumed marriage or sexual. But probably sexual first. So it's already called the joining, and she made it the most, like, the closest, she made it the closest thing to something being sexual without it overtly being sexual. For just like, I don't know. I'm gonna go. We did it. We finished. I am feeling very satisfied because I finished the 4th book. The 5th one is not out yet. It's not coming out until July. But you have a very satisfying conclusion. You know, the queen is dead and everyone's basically reunited. Malik and Millicent are gone. They've like run off together. So the story that I care about has concluded nicely with a little bow. And they're saying that there's, new war beginning, War of the Gods. I know that it's just saying that she has one more book, like there's just book 5, but honestly, this could be like a Throne of Glass situation where there's like 7, 8 books. Okay, it's saying that there's 7 books coming to this series. No way I'm reading. Listen, once I got to the end, it's very clear that they're starting, or Miss Jennifer is starting a new saga, or a story arc that could be multiple books long. You know what I mean? Because it's a War of the Gods. She could end it in one book, but she ain't gonna do that. She's not that kind of girl. Or not that kind of woman, I should say. I mean, she gave us book 2. Like, she is gonna milk this shit. So now that I looked, it's saying that there's 7 books announced. Could it go more? Sure. But there would be 3 full books in this God War kind of series. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to read 5, 6, 7. We don't have time for that. I don't care that much about it. We're done with the story that I care about or I'm invested in. And if the whole thing was finished, like let's say I had another book to go to, would I go to it? No, because I'm the kind of person who just needs to know what happens next. And now there's nothing pressing. Like, she didn't leave it at a cliffhanger. She tied it up in a bow, which is great. And I don't care to read more from this author that, in my opinion, there's just way too much. There's way too many issues with consent over all the books. And I feel like every book has at least one consent issue. I'm not about reading that. We're done with this series, and I feel good about it, and I'm glad that she ended it the way that she did. This whole lineage thing, like the whole God situation of primals, who's related to what, who's the real primal of life, what, it's all confusing. I feel like it's all intentionally confusing, and all of this narrative along the way and like questioning who, like, what is my lineage, where do I come from, she just dragged on a story arc that we didn't need. I hope you enjoyed this vlog series, and I'm gonna think about what to read next. We will have to see. Thanks for watching and hanging out with me, and I hope to see you again around here soon. Bye!